Thank you everyone for tuning in and welcome. Yes, you're tuned into the real story. I am Daniel Hapney. And what do I want for today? I want to legalize freedom. Heck yeah. It's a beautiful thing. So, where to take you on this journey? It's a wake up. You know, this may be a little bit shocking, startling. You may think, gee, I must be the kook because I can see things. Maybe I'll see if you can see them. And then maybe we'll work with our vision and decide what's right and what's wrong. So where to start? I want to start off with, for those who travel, you're probably familiar with the TSA. Not a big fan. Don't believe that I need to have my genitals squeezed to fly, or my daughters for that matter. But here's a 6-year-old girl getting groped by the TSA. Here you go.
I don't want to get my clothes.
One hand on your other leg, I won't be going all the way up on her. And I'll be going not all the way up on her, but coming down the side. And right here where mommy's at. Turn around and face me.
I want to do thank you.
Put your legs out and step right here. And the entire body, okay? Get your pretty hand, put my hand around, arm, side, waist, put my hand in the waistband. Just a minute. And then your sensitive area, I'm going to touch the back of my hand, okay?
Oh, it's cute.
I won't be going all the way up, just coming down. Same thing here. Same thing in the front. You come over here so you can see. Right here. Same thing with our waist. Put my hand in the waist. Coming all the way around. All the way around. Sensitive area too. Right here. Thank you. And that's it. Just that. Just go here.
Done taping?
They're doing the drug test on her, the whatever test.
I understand.
On the 6-year-old.
Yeah, it's your job.
Run this one over there. Run that over there. Run that in there.
A little sign for you. See, this is what's going to come. You're going to have your choice. You know, this is the TSA choice. Do you want groping, or would you like to be fried or cooked? And here's the little thing. Here's Senator Shumer. That's right. One of your representatives, not yours personally, but he's going to say, we're going to make a no-ride list for Amtrak. Here you go.
We should be comparing Amtrak manifolds the same way we compare airline manifolds to the terrorist watch list, and not let anybody who might be near that list buy a ticket. By alerting law enforcement about passengers on the no-fly list, we've been able to catch and deter terrorists from boarding our planes. We can do the same on Amtrak, a rail system that requires tickets to be purchased in the same way. So what we're calling for, very simply, is for Amtrak to put in place a do-not-ride list, like the airlines have put in place a do-not-fly list.
So do you remember when they did the no-fly list? You don't know how you get on it, you know. Gee, how did I get on it? Can't get off it. Can you see the tyranny coming? Can you see what they're setting up? Did you hear about the NDA? That's the National Defense Authorization Act of 2012. If you go back a couple of years in my shows, I told you about the John Warner Defense Authorization Act. I told you about the Military Commissions Act. Well, now let's learn about the National Defense Authorization Act, where we can use the Army in Sharon, Massachusetts to disappear your son. Maybe your neighbor. Maybe your mother. So, where do I take you? It's going to be tough, but here we go. Here's a little quick one. Here's the, we're making these FEMA camp handbooks now. You may not believe me, but here, get to see it. They got a printing job, you know. The feds need their, you know, detainee handbook. Do you ever wonder why they needed those handbooks? But here's a little bit of Jesse Ventura, and you know he started that show Conspiracy Theory, and in the second season I think they did a show on the FEMA camps, and then they got pressured and they were never allowed to air it again, under threats. Wonder why, don't you? But here you go. Here's a little bit of Jesse Ventura.
Well, a lot of us are upset, angry, even disgusted by the TSA screening procedures at our airports. My next guest is no exception. In fact, he is doing something about it. He filed a lawsuit suing TSA, claiming the searches are a violation of his Fourth Amendment rights. Joining me now, former governor of Minnesota, Jesse Ventura, author of the brand new book, 63 Documents the Government Doesn't Want You to See. Jesse, good to see you again. Great to have you on the show.
Hi, Lou. Always a pleasure.
Let me ask you this video. Let's roll this video of this kid being patted down by a TSA agent. I don't know if you can see it there. I'm sure you've already seen it, but I mean, this is
no. I have not. I would enjoy seeing it. I have not seen it.
Well, I wish we could put it up there for you, but I've got to tell you, the kid can't be more than what, 6 years old, if that. Being patted down with a full body search by an agent. It is. I was going to ask you, your reaction to it, but I'll give you mine. It's outrageous. If this were one of my kids, if it were one of my grandkids, I wouldn't want to be responsible for what I would be saying or doing with those agents. I mean, I can't believe American citizens, to be honest with you, Jesse, I can't believe American citizens sit there in a line and let some officer, I don't care who this person is, treat a kid like this.
Well, Lou, how about, I'm suing because of me. I look at it this way. I'm a 6-year honorably discharged veteran. I've been a mayor. I've been a governor. I've been flying for 30 years. And last summer, they went to this extended search or whatever. The first time it was done to me, I immediately went to my attorneys and said, I want this stopped. I don't want any money. I just simply want them to cease and desist and stop treating me like I'm a criminal.
Have you gotten a reaction from, say, Janet Napolitano, the head of Homeland Security? Have you heard from the head of the TSA any apology, any response?
The only response is they want it dismissed. They've put forth a motion to dismiss, and it hasn't got there yet. We filed it in January. It will probably come up to a judge maybe early this summer. And then we'll find out if the Fourth Amendment and if our Constitution and our Bill of Rights still exist in this country, Lou.
It's such a shame the way in which this agency is being run. I'm sure most of its agents are just good, upstanding people, but to be put in the position where you're doing that to a kid, I mean, it's just disgusting.
Lou, what about if they send them into the X-ray machine, a child like that, and they take photos of them? Isn't that child pornography?
Well, I'll tell you what it is. In my opinion, it's un-American, it's unprincipled, and it is simply disgusting conduct on the part of any agency of this government, which, by the way, used to be our government, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not our government anymore.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Let me turn to, first of all, I want to just say, commend you for filing the lawsuit. Everybody who travels and has had to put up with this nonsense wants to say thank you, I'm sure. Let me turn to your new book, 63 Documents. Give us, if you will, a taste of what's included.
Well, one of the documents is the government ordering internment camps and civilian labor force. I mean, what is that all about, Lou? Come on. And, there's plenty of documents. All 63 are astounding. My last book was called American Conspiracies. Right. Everyone attacked me for being a conspiracy theorist, this and that. So Dick and I got together this time and said, and we started before WikiLeaks. We said, let's go after U.S. government documents. That way no one can accuse me of making anything up. All of these documents come from our government. And did you know last year they classified top secret an astounding 16 million documents that you and I cannot see?
Yeah, that number is utterly insane. We have a government that is just simply out of control. And I'm delighted that you took time to be with us here. It's always good to see you. Come back soon, will you, Governor?
I sure will, Lou. We'll do it again, and I'm getting ready to head across that border and go surfing in Mexico where you're not bothered with this kind of nonsense.
By the way, you better be careful. They just put out a warning for Americans living in Mexico and tourists going into Mexico. You watch yourself. You hear me? You watch yourself now. Thanks a lot, Jesse. Jesse Ventura.
Thank you, Lou.
Good to
Thank
have you.
And it's interesting when you look at Jesse and after you've heard him, that, yeah, is it our government anymore? When they now can torture people? Last time I checked, the Constitution of the United States limited the powers of government. Now what do we have? You have your would-be leaders shredding the Constitution. No more free speech. You have free speech zones, don't you? We're going to control your internet access. Oh, and by the way, you know, you can't have a gun. We're going to pass all these gun laws, but the Department of Justice, run by Eric Holder, the guy who covered up Oklahoma City, don't believe me, take a look at the memos from then Holder, who was, you know, working with the Department of Justice there. But Eric Holder's now with Fast and Furious, some homework for you viewers, Fast and Furious, type those two words in, where they're giving guns to Mexican drug gangs. Then you find out they're giving them to city gangs here in the U.S. Then you find out it's not thousands of guns, it's tens of thousands of guns. And if I said that it was the government bringing the drugs in, you'd say, oh, it's just this kooky guy on the television. But then again, I could say the words Iran-Contra, and people could look that up and find out, oh, they're moving guns and drugs for money. Yeah. And then I could, well, anyway, before we get too deep into it, we'll mellow out. Here's a little taste of Alex Jones telling you, we're not your slaves.
Yeah, to the last caller, I mean, the entire Chicago Mafia is replacing a lot of the other D.C. mob because they're so vicious, so evil. They know how to get guns. They know how to dumb kids down. They know how to shake down business owners. They are Don Corleone. And it's just a total takeover. I mean, you know, in Chicago, it's like, yeah, your parents not going to be able to not have your kids a lunch. We run your kids, they're slaves to us, and you don't pack a lunch for your kids. You buy the lunch from Don Corleone. You buy it from Mayor Daley. You understand me, prisoner? You work for us, you live for us. You understand that. And now we're going to run the whole country. Lou Ann, you're on the air from Illinois. Welcome.
Yes. Hello. I just want to say that I live in Chicago, and my daughter was in the Chicago public school system back in the 1980s. And the same thing that you are talking about today, they were doing back in the 1980s. The only difference I see is that they have come public with it now. They are actually telling the citizens, you know, what they are doing. Back in the 80s, it was a total cover-up. And if you try to explain to anybody what you were experiencing...
By the way, ma'am, I hate to interrupt you. You mean not letting you pack a lunch for your child. The head spokesperson for the Chicago school system said other schools are doing it, but we're not going to tell you which ones. That's in the Chicago Tribune yesterday. You're absolutely right. Even now they're saying, listen up, Mac, you think we're going to tell you what we're doing? Your kid belongs to us. Now pay the money. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely. Yes, that is what they told me back in the 80s when my daughter was a student in the Chicago public system. They told me to my face, they said, your daughter does not belong to you. She belongs to us. And they took my child away from me. Oh. And they did that very clandestine. They went behind my back secretly and took my custody away, and I didn't even realize.
And then they tell the children, mommy doesn't want you anymore. You talk to these kids, and then you learn it. You know, they grab your kid and then say, your mommy doesn't want you anymore, to make the child not like you. Did they do that to your daughter?
Oh, yes, sir. They did that. They did all of that.
Pure evil.
Much more.
Pure scum.
Evil. Pure. Yeah, and I tried to explain it to my family, and my family turned against me. It was a horrible
because
experience.
No one wants to stand up to the government. I mean,
they don't.
It's like, I mean, look, if they ordered Americans to put their kids in meat grinders, a lot of them would do it.
Yes. So I experienced all of that. So I just want the audience to know that these things are real and that Alex is telling the truth.
Well, did you ever get back with your daughter after she grew up and got out of their system?
Yes, it has been very, very difficult, a very hard struggle, but we're back on track now. We're getting to be back to normal mom and daughter.
Well, the way to break through to your kids is to explain the system's the enemy, they did this to you, and that she wins by having love and getting back in the family. You guys win by not letting them destroy your family, your culture, your system. We all win. We don't fight with our husbands and wives. We all win when we stay healthy. We all win when we love each other and hate the globalists. You hear what I'm saying, Lou Ann?
Oh, yes. You're right. You're right, Al.